Remember 2008? It felt like the world economy just fell off a cliff, but it wasn't a sudden accident. It was a time bomb ticking for years. And today, we're going to dismantle it piece by piece to understand how it was built and why it exploded. So, let's rewind to the early 2000s. The vibe was all about easy money. Following the .0 bust and 9/11s, the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates to historic lows, trying to keep the economy moving. This meant one thing. Borrowing money became incredibly cheap for everyone. Banks were handing out loans like candy at a parade. The message from every direction was clear. Buy a house. It was pitched as the ultimate, can't-lose investment. Homeownership wasn't just a dream. It was sold as a guaranteed ticket to wealth. As long as house prices kept going up, what could possibly go wrong? This is where the first key ingredient of our bomb comes in: subprime loans. So, what are they? Simply put, they're mortgages given to people with poor credit history, people who wouldn't normally qualify for a loan. Banks, eager to cash in on the housing boom, lowered their standards dramatically. To make these risky loans seem attractive, they offered teaser rates, a super low interest rate for the first couple of years. But hidden in the fine print was a nasty surprise. After the teaser period, the interest rate would skyrocket, often doubling or tripling the monthly payment. For a while, this didn't seem to matter. As long as home prices were climbing, borrowers could just sell their house for a profit or refinance into another loan before the high rates kicked in. The risk was there, plain as day, but it was completely ignored in the mad dash for profit. Now, you might be thinking, why would banks take on so much risk? Well, they had a clever and ultimately catastrophic trick up their sleeve: securitization. This sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Instead of holding onto these risky mortgages, banks bundled thousands of them together: good loans, okay loans, and a whole lot of bad subprime loans into a financial product called a mortgage-backed security, or MBS. Think of it like a fruit salad. You mix a few good strawberries with a bunch of mushy, brown bananas, but you chop it all up so fine that it is hard to tell what is what. Then you sell this fruit salad to investors all over the world. These MBS products were sliced into different pieces, called tranches, with some supposedly being safer than others. The banks made a fortune packaging and selling these, passing the risk on to someone else. The complexity of these products made it nearly impossible for investors to see the rotten fruit hidden inside. Of course, investors weren't just buying these bundles blindly. They relied on the gatekeepers of financial safety, the credit rating agencies. Companies like Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch are supposed to be the impartial referees. Their job is to analyze investments and give them a grade, from the super safe AA down to junk status. And what grade did they give to these bundles of risky subprime mortgages? AA, the highest possible rating. This was like stamping a seal of approval on a ticking bomb. Why? A massive conflict of interest. The banks who were creating these securities were the ones paying the rating agencies for the ratings. If one agency refused to give a good rating, the bank would just go to another one that would. So, investors around the globe, pension funds, city governments, foreign banks bought these securities, believing they were as safe as government bonds. They trusted the rating, not the reality. This leads us to the next problem: leverage. Wall Street investment banks weren't just using their own money to play this game. They were borrowing insane amounts of money to multiply their bets and their profits. For every $1 of their own capital, they might borrow $30 or even $40. This is what's called leverage. When things are going well, leverage is amazing. It turns a small profit into a massive one. But when things go wrong, it becomes a weapon of mass destruction. A tiny loss gets magnified 30 or 40 times over, wiping out a firm's entire capital base almost instantly. The entire system was balanced on a knife's edge, supercharged with borrowed money. Every single mistake was amplified, setting the stage for total collapse. And then, the inevitable happened. The housing bubble burst. By 2006 and 2007, home prices, which everyone assumed would rise forever, plateaued and then started to fall. Suddenly, the whole game was over. Homeowners with those teaser rate loans found their payments skyrocketing, but they could no longer sell their house for a profit or refinance. They were trapped. Many owed more on their mortgage than their house was even worth. The defaults began as a trickle, then became a flood. All those mortgage-backed securities, once rated AA, were now filled with worthless loans. The fruit salad was revealed to be 90% rotten bananas. The hidden bomb at the heart of the financial system had started its countdown. As the value of these securities plummeted, panic ripped through the financial world. The credit markets completely froze. The problem was that no one knew who was holding the toxic assets. Which bank was secretly insolvent? Trust, the essential lubricant of the financial system, vanished overnight. Banks stopped lending to each other. They stopped lending to businesses. They stopped lending to anyone. This is called a liquidity crisis. It's like the entire economy's circulatory system just stopped. Money stopped moving. Companies couldn't get loans to make payroll. The global financial system, which had seemed so powerful and sophisticated, ground to a terrifying halt. The dominoes began to fall. In March 2008, the investment bank Bear Stearns collapsed and was sold for pennies on the dollar. But the real shock came on September 15, 2008, a date now infamous in financial history. Lehman Brothers, a 158-year-old Wall Street titan, declared bankruptcy. The government decided to let it fail, hoping to teach Wall Street a lesson. Instead, it triggered a full-blown global panic. AIG, the world's largest insurance company, was next, saved only by a massive government bailout. Merrill Lynch was forced into a sale. The crisis was no longer a Wall Street problem. It had gone global, spreading like a virus through the interconnected financial system. And who paid the ultimate price for all this high-stakes gambling? Ordinary people. The human cost was devastating. Millions of families lost their homes to foreclosure. Millions more lost their jobs as the economy plunged into the worst recession since the Great Depression. People's life savings, invested in the stock market or pension funds, evaporated. Communities were hollowed out by foreclosures and unemployment. The failures of a few thousand people in executive suites and trading floors brought hardship and ruined hundreds of millions around the world. It was a brutal reminder that when the financial system breaks, it's Main Street, not Wall Street, that bleeds the most. So, what did we learn? In the aftermath, new regulations like the Dodd-Frank Act were put in place to rein in the banks, increase transparency, and prevent a repeat performance. But has the risk truly disappeared? Many would argue it has simply changed shape, moved to different corners of the financial system. The 2008 crisis was a harsh lesson in the dangers of complexity, greed, and flawed incentives. It showed us that when you create systems so complex that no one truly understands them, you are not eliminating risk, you're just hiding it. The core takeaway is this: the 2008 financial crisis wasn't a single event. It was a chain reaction. A disaster built step by step, from easy loans on Main Street to complex securities on Wall Street. Each step seemed logical, even profitable at the time. But when they were all combined, they created a bomb that blew up the world economy. Understanding this history is crucial because the forces that created the last crises are still with us. Thank you for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shape our world. See you next time.